I'll show you guys how to replace a rear swing arm on a Honda TRX 450. This one's a 2005. So there's a few bolts you got to remove after you remove your axle, which that'll be another video. Alright, to remove your swing arm, got a bolt right here, which is your rear linkage. Just pop that out. I've already loosened all the bolts to make the video quicker. There's a bolt back in here. It's up underneath your frame. You can barely see it right there. Pop that out. That also goes on your rear linkage, which doesn't want to come out for me. Great. Sometimes you gotta hit stuff with a hammer. Alright, pop that bolt out. Then you have to remove your rear brake pedal. Little bolt right here. And you can loosen this bolt here, which is your pivot arm. Also holds your motor in. Pop that out. And that frees up your swing arm, so I'm going to pound these out with a hammer real quick. Then we'll get on with the next part of the video. Where'd my hammer go? Yeah, frees up your swing arm. You're going to need your hammer and probably a really long screwdriver. The longer the better. You have to pound your swing arm bolt through. And it pulls out from the other side. Good old long bolt. And that frees your swing arm up. Pull that linkage out. This comes right out like that. Alright. Then you take your other swing arm, your new one, feed this through underneath here. Put your swing arm up into place where it goes. Swing arm bolt. Take your swing arm bolt, put it back through. Get your swing arm through, take your bolt, put it back on there. When you're first installing, you never want to tighten anything. Just snug it in there so it holds itself in place. And you put all the rest of your bolts. Don't really matter what order you do them in. Just gotta get them in there. Then you get your linkage up underneath the frame. That bolt in. Sometimes the bolts are tight, they don't want to go back in. Just hit them with a hammer. You shouldn't have to hit them too hard, otherwise you break them off. And that's bad. That can cost you a lot more in bushing damage than it's worth. So get that one in, and that'll make this one go a little smoother. And you take your nuts on all of them, put them back on. And you go through with your wrench or whatever it is you use. I like to use an electrical one. Tighten them up. Go back through when you're done with that, tighten them up by hand so you know that they're good. You never should tighten anything fully down with an electrical wrench because you'll strip your bolts out and that can cost you a lot of money. I've learned my lesson doing that a few times. But these bolts are all big enough you don't really have to worry about that. So, there you go. That'd take 5 minutes maybe. Rear swing arms replaced, and you just go back, reinstalling your axle. Alright, see you guys. Stop. Alright, once you got your rear swing arm replaced, first thing you gotta do to reinstall your axle, put your bearing carrier back in. Slides right through. Sometimes you have to pry this apart with a screwdriver and stick it in there and push down, and then that'll open it up so you can slide that in. Sometimes you can hit it with a hammer, that helps too. Well, to reinstall your axle, take your chain, your sprocket, put the axle through there. Careful not to hit anything too hard. Just wiggle it through. So that way you know your bearings are clearing. You don't want to jam your bearings up. That'll be a real costly mistake. I've seen people do it. Alright, just got that through. Good to put your sprocket back on. Your sprocket hub. Just wiggle it in there. Spin that into place, just like that. Alright, take your bolts. Uh-oh. Sometimes they're a little difficult, just be patient with them. They'll go in there eventually. Maybe. Just wiggle them in there. What your barrel's for, your bearing carrier, that's to tighten your chain. Turn it up, that'll loosen it up, make your sprocket a little easier to put in if it's being too difficult for you. And get your sprocket in there lined up. There you go. And you need to take your flanged end of your bolt. That goes in through this side of the sprocket hub. That way it clears your bearing carrier, the swing arm, that tear them up. Just got those through. Take a washer. Stupid gloves. Take a washer, put it on the other side of the bolt. Take your nut, stick it on there. And you repeat that process for all 4 of them. Again, don't tighten anything down until you're done. So then they just tend to get in your way. Alright, we'll skip that part for now. Then you need your brake caliper holder, whatever the heck it's called. Slide that over your axle. Goes over your bearing carrier. It aligns with this little slot right here, so you got to have that positioned right. Alright. Take that, hit it with a hammer, lightly. Don't ever want to hit anything too hard when you're installing, and you'll break them. Alright, once you got that, take your big old snap ring. Get a big pair of snap ring pliers. Cat. Pry this snap ring open. And don't break it. Sometimes these things are tricky, you gotta be patient with them. Slide it over. Open it up a little more if you need to, just till it goes over. And you got your snap ring in there. That'll hold that assembly all together. Next, you're gonna take your brake and your whatever the heck it's called, your axle nut, lock nut. Slide that over here, just like that. I'll go inside there, lightly tap it. You don't want to bend your brake rotor. Hit your axle lock nut, it'll be better for it. Take this little ring you had, slide that through here, and over into that slot there. Alright, you're in your slot. Gonna back this up. This is what keeps your axle tight. It's gonna push against this ring. That ring's not going anywhere, so it's gonna push against your axle, tightening this stuff all together. Basically just crushes it together. Next, you're gonna take your brake caliper. If they're stuck together like this, stick a screwdriver in there, pry them apart. Man, all the screwdrivers broke. Just need a flathead. It's nothing special. Swiggling in there, pushing on them. That'll pry them apart. Alright, just got it pried apart. Slide that over. You take your two bolts here. It goes through that carry you put on there and into the brake caliper. These are 12mm bolts. Should use thread lock. Yeah, your brake caliper's on. That's the fun part. And now you're pretty much home free. Just put your axle spacers back on there. This is an aftermarket axle. I won't have this on stock. Stick your spacers on there. Grab your wheel spindle right here. This is also aftermarket. Stock won't look like that. Slide that over, wiggle it, and you take your bolt, which has disappeared from me, like all bolts do when you're working. Keep better track of your bolts than I do. Then you put your bolt on there, put your clip through it, and you're done. Yeah, so now that you got everything on there roughly, just go through them and tighten them all up, because you don't want to go ride with a loose bolt or you're going to cost yourself thousands in repair. Alright, that's it.